I'm addicted to caffeine. I went in there to get my coffee to go, and then I walked to the bathroom. But as I'm walking to the bathroom, it's this old guy sitting to the left with about 12 people that's celebrating his 89th birthday. I got a call from my dispatcher, and he was like, yo, you can chill, no rush. They're not ready for the freight, so you can relax a little bit. Sat down, ordered some food, so now I'm sitting like across from the guy that's celebrating his birthday. Time goes by, I'm down there at the end of my meal, and everybody that basically came to celebrate with him had left, so now it's just him and his wife. So as I get up to go wash my hands, I see him and I give him a smile. I'm like, happy birthday, young man, 89. That's a lot of memory to have. Here's the thing, I don't even know why I said that. He could have had Alzheimer's. I'm not even sure what I meant by that. Like, but that's what I said. And he said, well, thank you, young man. And he smiled, and he kind of just stared at me, and I just walked back there and washed my fucking hands. So I come back and his wife is gone. She's talking to some other lady that goes to the same church they do, and he sees me, he says, come here. And I said, yes. And he said, there are way too many things that I wish I could forget. And I said, yeah, man, you make it to damn near 100 years old. I'm pretty sure you got a handful of regrets. And he looked at me with the most serious look ever and said, you have no idea. Well, now I'm curious. Do tell. He said, you know, I used to be a firefighter through the 60s and 70s. I said, that's what's up. That's a very commendable job. And he said, yeah, it should be. He said the 60s and 70s was a different time in every way possible. You know that, right? And I'm just like, yeah, no shit. He said, back in those times, I was a way different man, and who knew that we'd get to the point where we are in society today, and I'd be feeling the way I'm feeling about the decisions that I made back in those times. So I'm like, man, if you won't fucking tell me, bro. So right before he took a very long pause, he looked at me and said, back in those times, it was very common for firefighters that looked like me to leave people that looked like you in burning houses and buildings and horrible situations just to say they couldn't get to us. He said more times than he'd like to admit, he would hear screaming black people and children in burning buildings and houses and apartments and stores and cars, and he would literally just pretend he didn't hear it. He said his last time doing it was when he made eye contact with the baby that he deliberately went into a building to save and deliberately didn't. And he said that was the last time he did it, and he quit that year. He said the nightmare still hasn't stopped. He still hasn't forgiven himself, and therapy helps, but it's still a living nightmare to have those memories. And I guess that shit just shocked me so much, because when it came to firefighters, I never thought of them like that. Like when it came to like police officers, lawyers, and judges, and everybody else, we knew they didn't give a fuck. Especially police officers, we knew they didn't give a fuck about us. But I don't know why that didn't click to me that, no, it was everybody that hated us. Everybody had a hand in deliberately making our lives worse. When I calmed down from being mad enough to want to pull the plug on his ass, I thought about it, and I was like, of course they did this. Of course they did this shit. Duh. Like, why was I even shocked?
I want to give all the praises and the honor to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai Bahashem Recha Hakwadash, and double honors to the elder apostles and the bishops of Great Millstone. Honors as well to you, brethren. Shalom to you believers, all you supporters that make up of this truth, and shalom to the elect. So anyway, I want to go into this video by Indijia Reacts. I guess that's how you pronounce her name. This is a video that this guy did, a testimony of what he heard from an elder white man, probably an Edomite, definitely an Edomite, who he watched, as you saw, he watched people, Israelites die, right? So-called blacks. It's not so much a color thing, because you got other nations. I mean, it is the way they separate themselves, but you have all other nations, even of different colors, like in the Middle East, that have an issue with so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, because we're Israelites, right? So anyway, I'll give you a testimony of my own. You know, I'm old enough to remember some of this stuff, right? On the tail end of it, and the reason why we are in the condition we're in today. because of the broken families, broken homes, the beaten down man, and the uplifting of the woman. And then this is why you have such a destroyed society. But let me get a scripture real quick before I go there. Let's go to Deuteronomy 28:15, just to start this off. Right? It says, but if thou shalt not, but it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, right, to observe and to do all his commandments and the statutes which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee, right? And I'm going to jump to the 48th verse. This whole thing is good. It jumps back and forth through time, and sometimes twofold, right? Like going back to in the ancient times, even up to slavery, right? And even today we're feeling some of the effects, right? Deuteronomy 28:48, therefore thou shalt serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things, and he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee, right? And this is a part of destruction. You know, this man sitting here many years later after these things have happened and granting this old elderly white man happy birthday, which is cool. You know, you live peaceably amongst all men, but that spirit, you know, that guilt hit him, and then he went and gave a testimony of what he did. And you know, first of all, just to give a background on that, I don't think a lot of people understand that a lot of these fires were started by them. They had scouts that would go out and start these fires, and then they would call the fire department to come put it out. But the fire department was there to ensure that these people died in the fires. You know, so what we did is we waited on help for them to come save us when we should have been trying to get out our damn selves, because they wasn't saving us. In fact, do you know some of them are responsible for some of the massacres, right? Where they would chain up buildings, set the schools on fire, and let children burn to death in those schools. You know, that's all an act of the Lord too, by the way. And again, what I'm trying to bring forth is Christianity is also played a factor in this. This is why you see them with this Jesus saves over them. When you go back in time, even the split out of the Roman Catholic Church, the Reformation, you know, there was separate different groups that formed, and some believed that we're Canaanites and we're supposed to be slaves. We don't have no business with Jesus. So this is why today you see people who are converted to be Jesus freaks and Jesus lovers. They'll say, I've been saved. Now, the reason why they say, are you saved? Because you would be spared from cruel punishment, right? And that's why our people feel so blessed to latch on to Esau and white supremacy, right? This is why every time you see the word Roman in the Bible, they think of a white man, or Greek, they think of a white man. This is the mindset of our people, because we are broken through these philosophies, right? So anyway, you know, I remember, just a short testimony, I remember when I was young and where I lived in a group home, another form of oppression of what happened through our families and being broken up on drugs, right? With my family, I believe, was on drugs. I'm not sure. But in this group home I lived in, they put me far out somewhere, and it was KKK was painted on the buildings, right? And every day we had to go in to the house or these cottages with KKK spray painted on these buildings. Come to find out, the head of these organizations, of these groups for the children, the homeless children, were the grand wizards of the KKK. We found that out too. I just talked to somebody like 6-7 years ago about that. And he still has some dealings with that place. And again, this is all corruption. Remember, the scripture says a corrupt tree bringeth forth corrupt fruit. It was built off corruption. America was built off corruption, right? And then I remember one time seeing a cross being burned. Yeah, I'm old enough to remember some of this stuff. right? My son's mother from Alabama, she watched people get lynched. Now we talking late 70s, early 80s. I can tell you boatloads of story. My wife had crosses burnt in her backyard, and you know who came? The firefighters. Well, come to find out, they had family members that was linked into that. So, you know, it's what it is. She was not allowed to go in certain pools because of being black or white. They said she was too black to go into a pool. So my point is, who's going to pay for all of this, man? I remember riding through certain streets not too long ago. I was a young man, but still, I mean, we talking early 90s. And they said, the N word, go home. We don't want your kind around us. But now all of a sudden everybody loves everybody, right? Okay. So really, we never had a good start on understanding, or let me say resources, and on how to survive. But for whatever reason, well, we'll say that the Spirit of the Lord, for us as a people, we're still able to somewhat survive. Them heathens, they're not going to survive this, man. They're not going to survive what's coming to them. They're going to survive it, but it's going to be hardcore, man. Anyway, let me go to Jeremiah 30:16 real quick. Jeremiah 30:16. Therefore, all they that devour thee shall be devoured, and all thine adversaries, every one of them shall go into captivity. Wait a minute, this is not a lie for you Christians. You Christians believe that all you have to do is lay hold on the covenant and lay hold on Jesus Christ. This proves, in all those years they had that white Jesus up holding crosses, right? Nobody had an issue with Jesus being white. Nobody said it doesn't matter what he looked like. Nobody said you're supposed to love all, because we were the ones getting torched, right? Hung, lynched. Later on, get beaten with sticks and water hoses and dogs. And even to this day, getting shot down like dogs in the street. Hell, dogs don't even get shot down in the street anymore, right? So we're in the worst of the worst position. And now, through social media and its subtlety and the distractions, our people are so destroyed, they will shoot themselves down, right? They will twerk away in front of TikTok, right? No moral laws at all, right? Everything according to the law of society, they will keep some of them. They will pay some bills and do things and obey the traffic signals, some of them. But for the most part, anything deals with moral laws, adultery, sicknesses, dietary, everything else, they don't follow none of it, man. And it's because of sweet Jesus, sweet white Jesus, that they had us put fear in sweet white Jesus that totally destroyed us, man. That's who we feared. And what did sweet white Jesus say? All you got to do is get covered by my blood when you sin. You'll be all right. Yeah. Okay. Psalms 17 and 13. Arise, O Lord. Right? It says, arise, O Lord. Disappoint him. Cast him down. Deliver my soul from the wicked, which is thy sword. Right? Which is thy sword. That's how the sword is an instrument of death. Right? For men which are, it says, for men which are thy hand, O Lord, from men of the world. It says, from men which are thy hand, O Lord, which really the Lord controls all of this. From men of the world, which have their portion in this life, right? And whose bellies are filled, belly thou fillest with thine hand, thy hid treasures, right? They are full of children, and they leave the rest of their substance to their babes, right? So when they spoiled us and they took everything from us, passed on down through generations, right? This is how they succeeded. This is how they done such a great job, right? When you really look at it, We was in a disservice from the beginning just from looking at our skin color. Don't believe me? You got women that want to bleach themselves white, men too. You got women that want to throw blonde in their hair. You got women that want to do long weaves and look like white women. You got our women who want to talk like white women, black men too, but they want to talk like white women. The problem is they don't behave like white women, right? It says, as for me, I will behold thy face in righteousness. I shall be satisfied when I awake with thy likeness. Right? So when we come into the truth, you are now awake. You now know better. Some of you brothers, especially real younger brothers, you probably experienced some form of racism, but don't even realize it was racism, or you may have understanding in it. But back in the day, it was more hardcore racism, and they showed it, right? Which was probably, I'm not going to say better, but in a sense, now it's like more hidden. You got people in relationships and they think it's all about just loving one another. Look, man, Jesus has done us a disservice. White Jesus. There is a Messiah, Yahweh Bashem Yahushua, who was a so-called black man, right? And the image of Yahushua was not of this image of this white man with orgies and sicknesses and killing and murder. So you got to see that spirit of white Jesus is why we are destroyed today. Everything you see us doing, poisoning each other with the drugs and shooting each other with the sword, right? Committing all the adultery on one another. That is all a product of white Jesus, because that's all he ever did. Slept with his own sister who father joined in, right? He poisoned people. He killed people. He murdered people, right? He was responsible for murdering people. Lies, deception. Hey, that's where it all comes from. Anyway, let's go here. Let's go to Ecclesiastes 8 and 11. Because a sentence against an evil work is not executed speedily, therefore the heart of the sons of men is fully set in them to do evil. This is why they have no issue continuing in their wickedness, because they figure they're going to continue to get away with it, but they're not going to get away with it. It says, though a sinner do evil 100 times and his days is be prolonged, this man's like 89 years old, right? Yet surely I know that he shall be well with them that fear God, which fear before him. But it shall not be well with the wicked, neither shall he prolong his days, which are as a shadow. See that? Because he fears not before God, right? Which really is going to Israelites who don't fear the Lord. They're going to be judged as well. But Edom, right, who is born, he's a born separatist. Let me say that best way I can say that. He don't fear the Lord, right? This is why he continues to do what he do. But they're finding out now that it's the children of Israel that you've done this to. And as Ecclesiastes 3:15 says, the Lord require that which is past. Let's go to Obadiah real quick. Obadiah 1 and 8. I just want to link this with biblical prophecy. Also the fact that Christianity has done a horrible job. This is all the works of Christianity. This is why no so-called black man or black woman or Hispanic man, Hispanic woman, native Hispanics, none of them, or your rest of you tribes that are scattered amongst the other nations, right? Even as you go to, what's that country Manny Pacquiao is from, right? When you go over there, a lot of our people are there too. The Philippines, after King Philip, right? Anyway, it says let me go on up. How the things of Esau searched out, and how are his hidden things sought up, right? Let me go on down here. It says, let's go to 6. Shall I not in that day, saith the Lord, even destroy the wise men out of Edom, their understanding out of the mount of Esau? So we understand when we go to Obadiah, let me go to 3. The pride of thine heart have deceived thee, right? Thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rock, whose habitation is high, that saith in his heart, who shall bring me down to the ground? Right? So this man said he's 89 now and he can't even pick up a water hose probably by now, but now all of a sudden he's sorry. But his same society that is constructed under will say, okay, when you're young, you do all these heinous and because really they're murderers. They were killers. So why aren't they being brought forth to judgment? Why isn't anybody locking this man up right now and said, you let people die, you are a murderer? What's up with that? Right? No statutes or limitations on murder, but they will not do anything to him. Right? Yeah, it's what it is. Anyway, this says, though thou exalt thyself as the eagle, though thou set thy nest amongst the stars, thence will I bring thee down, saith the Lord. Now we all do know the eagle go back to Babylon as well, but they're the ones that set their nest amongst the stars. They're the ones that got satellites. They got a satellite called GOD, the Global Orbiting Device, right? Let me go on down to the point, verse 18. You can read the whole Obadiah. And the house of Jacob shall be a fire, and the house of Joseph a flame. When the house of Jacob, the house of Joseph, that's you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, you are the biblical Israelites, right? As Deuteronomy, you can read Deuteronomy, proves all that, Joel 3, really the whole Bible. And the house of Esau for stubble. Esau is this man this man said was 89 years old. That's who Edom is, red, wasted away. And they shall kindle in them and devour them, and there shall not be any remaining of the house of Esau, for the Lord hath spoken it. Yeah, you had your fun, Esau, but guess what? The time is running short for you. Now you got the time for you to pay the piper. Now you were the rich man, right? And we were Lazarus, right? So now you're going to have to pay. Now you will be in torment. It's how it works. I don't know why people think you could just bow out and go to Christianity and white Jesus going to save you. Nope, he's not going to save you this time, buddy. Anyway, that's all I have on that. Shalom.